Welcome to Number One Comic Books. My name is Tom, and I'm going to do this again. I spent about 30 minutes recording this video, going through every facet of Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man #1 from 1976, and I finished, and I realized my recording software was not recording, so we're doing it all over again. Episode #1, Number One Comic Books. Thank you for joining us, and let's get started. So before I get into my rankings, let me give you a brief rundown. I'm on mycomicshop.com, and I'm just going to read the brief synopsis of this book according to them. So if you're unfamiliar with this series, this will give you a general idea of what I read. Twice Stings the Tarantula. This is part 1 of 3. Script was written by Jerry Conway, pencils by Sal Buscema, inks by Mike Esposito, cover by Sal Buscema and John Romita. The first issue of a brand new series for Spider-Man. The story opens with a bang as the tarantula kidnaps the Empire State University Vice Chancellor. Despite the best efforts of the web-slinger, Flash Thompson, and Mary Jane Watson. Next, the tarantula tries to kill the mayor. But this time, the Spectacular Spider-Man is ready. Can the wall crawler beat Tarantula and save Mayor Abe Beam? And maybe at the end of this book, you wish he hadn't have saved the ungrateful Mayor Abe Beam. This book contains the first appearance of Edward Lansky, a.k.a. the Lightmaster. And then there's some additional notes here that I will quickly read. The Spectacular Spider-Man series became the third monthly title for Spider-Man. The first issue of the series debuted the same month as Amazing Spider-Man number 163 and Marvel Team-Up 52. The letters page contains an essay from Jerry Conway describing the plans for the new Spider-Man title. 32 pages in total, 30-cent cover price. Let's get into the cover. It is hard for me to give anything related to a Spider-Man book less than a 10 out of 10, I will be honest. So I probably graded this more harshly than I will other books because I was trying to be fair. And I want, as the series progresses, to be as consistent with my scores as possible. So with covers, I love the old-time artwork. I like where there's less detail in the back, where a panel or a cover, like in this case, the background's just yellow, or it's red, or it's blue. It really draws your eye to what is going on in the action instead of all this background noise. So with this one here, we've got our yellow background. You've got the tarantula attacking Spider-Man. So you've got action. You've got like a panicked crowd. It really draws you to want to pick up the book. At least it does me. And that is the first step in a great comic book. So with this one, I am going to go ahead and give this book an 8 out of 10. Next up, we move to the characters. This is something I'm just going to judge what I think of the characters. You know, are they exciting? Are they cool? Man, I hope to see them moving forward. So in this one, obviously it is focused on Spider-Man and Tarantula. You do get the Tarantula's henchmen. You get Mary Jane. You get Flash. We see a little bit of the Vice Chancellor and, of course, the Mayor, who, like I mentioned, is kind of a pain in the butt. But really, I mean, for book #1 of this series, I mean, the cover to me is classic. Probably should have given it a higher than an 8, but going with a character, a villain, a little more recognizable than Tarantula, I would have made it a little nicer in my opinion. So as him being the main character, Spider-Man's always going to be high on my list, but with it really being focused on the Tarantula, I'm going to go ahead, unfortunately, and give that a 6 out of 10. All right, next up we have panel art. The interiors of the book, Sal Buscema and Mike Esposito, are fantastic. I appreciate panel art and cover art, comic books in general of any era. So we're starting off with an older book here, 1976. I will certainly be reading books from 2023 when I'm recording this and on, so I'm going to mix everything up. But artists, I mean, the work is always great. Well, maybe not always great, but I appreciate what they're doing. I'm going to be biased again towards this era of comic books. I love this artwork. I love Silver and Bronze Age. I just think that was the peak of artwork to me. So again, trying to not be too crazy with my scores, especially out of the gate here. I'm going to give Spider-Man here, Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man #1, an 8 out of 10. Okay, next up, another important one for me. This is readability. And what I mean by that, not necessarily the text and what you're actually reading, but the way that it is positioned. So I've read books where it's just a crazy jumbled mess and there's way too much text covering up the artwork and you don't know where to go. I'm like, okay, well, I'll start on the top left and then I'll go to the bubble on the right, and then I guess you go diagonal down back to the left, and you can structure it properly where you can see that's the natural flow. And then there's other books where I have no idea where I have to reread it, and that is a no-no. So this one was well done. I mean, no issues whatsoever. Classic Spider-Man writing, was able to follow everything easy. Obviously didn't have to go back and double check anything. So I'm also going to give this one an 8 out of 10. Okay, now for the overall story of the book. I gave you a brief synopsis, and I will just throw in a few little extras here. Interestingly enough, the first couple of books I've read for the series, and I'm preparing and recording, I'm finding little tidbits, if you will, little maybe trivia questions or things that would make good trivia questions in these books. So this one I found, I was going to mention it, but as I'm talking here, I'm going to hold back. I'm not going to mention it. I'm going to use these little trivia nuggets for maybe something down the road, and I'll keep track of them. So with the trivia nugget to the side, basically, Tarantula kidnaps the Vice Chancellor, but he's actually in on this plot to kill the mayor. So then Tarantula goes back to kill the mayor. Spider-Man stops him. Fight ensues. Spider-Man tackles Tarantula out a building window. As Tarantula is falling out of the window, he grabs the mayor, pulls him out as well. Spider-Man is forced to let Tarantula go to save the mayor's life, and that's pretty much how the book ends. It's like a one-off story. There's no continuation. The ungrateful mayor, and I'll show you his comment here in that panel on the screen, but Spider-Man leaves the ungrateful mayor because he has some friends to meet up with, and the story ends. However, I will also show you here that there is some text at the bottom of the book that lets you know that in number 2, that you're going to see Tarantula as well as Kraven the Hunter, but Kraven doesn't pop up in the final panel. Like if you saw he was readying to attack Spider-Man or something else like that was going on, it would hook me to want to see what happens next. And for people maybe that weren't as familiar with Spider-Man and the villains, because if you are, you love Kraven the Hunter. But if not, there was nothing visually to carry the story forward to be like, oh my gosh, this is great. I'm in suspense. This is a cliffhanger. I can't wait for number 2 to come out. So unfortunately, as much as I love Spider-Man and these writers and these artists, I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 10. Okay, so we are done with the scoring. As I mentioned, I do have a weighted scoring system. I'm not going to divulge what the weighting is exactly. But for Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man #1, 1976, I gave the cover an 8 out of 10. Characters got a 6. Artwork got an 8. Readability also scored an 8. We gave the story a 6. And the hook, unfortunately, was a little lackluster in my opinion. I gave that a 4. So our weighted score was 6.38 out of 10, which is a pretty good range. It's still really, I think anything above 6 is a good book overall, at least in the way that I'm scoring it. But the big question is, would I want to purchase book number 2? Would I feel compelled to purchase number 2 after reading this book? And, was I hooked? I was hooked, of course. I mean, I'm a little biased here. It is Spider-Man. I do own number 2. And actually, I built my collection from 1 to 50 without even reading them, which I don't know. Is that common or uncommon? That might sound bad. I don't know. I will read them eventually one day when I retire and I have the whole collection. I'll sit out somewhere in the sunshine and just read through these books with a nice glass of iced tea. But yes, I would absolutely want to read number 2, and I will because I own it. So it looks like we were able to record this entire video. I see it still recording in the corner of my software here, so I don't want to blabber on for too much longer and ruin something. So thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with my grading, what you think of the book, if you have read it as well or own it, or both. And I do want to throw this in quickly because I ran a little bit long on the second video with it. I am offering a monthly giveaway. All you need to do to join is visit my website, and the link is in the description. Really, it's not a website. Right now, it's a web page, and you sign up for the #1 comic books mailing list. Really, all I require is your name and email address, and you're entered. As long as you stay on the list, you're entered in the giveaway every month. I'm not going to kick the giveaways off until I reach 50 subscribers on the channel, but I don't imagine that will take me too long. I will not spam you with anything, and actually here in the beginning, I have no idea what I would be emailing you about anyway, but as long as you're on the email list, then you are in the giveaway every month. We'll do that on video. The giveaway will be for a random #1 comic book of some sort every month, and I'll try to make it fun and engaging, but that's all you have to do. Join the mailing list, you're in every month, and you just watch to see if you won. I do have fields for your address that is not required. You do not have to put in your address if you're uncomfortable with that, but if you win, then I will reach out to you and ask for your address. So I, of course, can mail you the book, but I have a 7-day window. I have to hear from you within a week with your address. Otherwise, you no longer win. And I'm just going to put the book back in circulation for somebody else to win. And I'm doing that because I don't want to build up a backstock of winners. I don't know how this is going to work. So you got to put limits on things, folks. So hopefully that's okay. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. If you made it this far, please consider giving me a thumbs up, hit the like button, maybe even subscribe. That would be very much appreciated. So thanks again, guys, and we'll see you next time.